What is the greatest Survivor Series of all time? Well, I can tell you, Wrestling YouTube has the answer for you. I've got 9 special guests joining me on this particular video, and together we are going to decide which is the greatest Survivor Series of all time. Welcome to SCW. Please like the video, share the video with a friend, subscribe as well if you haven't already, and hit the bell and turn on notifications to all so you know each and every time a video is released. I also ask as well to subscribe to every channel that is involved with this video. The links to every channel is in the description of this video. It's going to be interesting to find out why it is the favourite Survivor Series per each guest. Maybe perhaps it's the fact it's got traditional Survivor Series matches. Maybe that Survivor Series doesn't. Perhaps there's a historical moment. Maybe it's something like the Montreal Screwjob from '97. Maybe a debut like The Undertaker in 1990. Or could it be the Elimination Chamber making its first ever appearance in 2002? Or could it just be a favourite match in general? We're going to find out very, very shortly. But before we get the special guests on, I guess I should share my favourite Survivor Series of all time first, and of course I'm going to go for the classic in 2002, what felt like almost a perfect show from start to finish in my personal opinion. The first ever Elimination Chamber match is in this show, and still is one of my favourite Elimination Chamber matches to this day. Let's not forget as well, Paul Heyman turning on Brock Lesnar to side with the Big Show in the championship match early in the evening. We have Devon Dudley actually going back on the side of Bubba Ray Dudley to reunite the Dudley Boys in the opener, and as well as that, we've got the SmackDown 6 there in triple threat tag team action. Of course, Los Guerreros winning the tag team championships against Rey Mysterio and Edge, and of course Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. But that's my favourite Survivor Series of all time. Without further ado, let's get our first guest on here today. And spoiler warning, yes, he's here with us again. It is Mr. Tom Colohue here on SCW.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Steve. Hi everyone, I am Tom Colohue from PPV Torch and the Twitch Sports team. And my favourite Survivor Series, easily the one I felt was the best, actually doesn't feature much of any actual Survivor Series matches. It is the 1998 Deadly Game, the 14-man tournament that took place over the course of a single night, mostly featuring 2 or 3 minute Attitude Era style matches. Dwayne Gill before he became Gilbert, even a mention of WCW in the intro, and the first time crowning of The Rock. This would lead into WrestleMania 15, the beginning of The Rock versus Steve Austin, and The Rock's corporate elbow, corporate eyebrow character. The Deadly Game for me mixed everything. I was 10 years old at the time that this was made. And for me, every match was absolutely overwhelming. It seemed obvious that The Undertaker or Kane would be taking it, and then by the end of it they were barely involved. Steve Austin screwed again and again and again. There is so much drama. Nowadays, the age of post-kayfabe, I'm watching that and I'm thinking, oh, obviously we're setting up for The Rock. But to a 10-year-old who genuinely believed, that Survivor Series will always stick in my mind, and that includes William Regal's Real Man's Man theme. Survivor Series Deadly Game in 1998. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out, because for me, that is the best Survivor Series of all time.
Fantastic choice there, Tom. And tell you what, that's my second favourite Survivor Series of all time there, the Deadly Game Tournament in 1998. And we know now what song I'm going to be singing for the rest of the day, and I'm sure everybody listening as well. Classic retro mention there to William Regal's Real Man's Man there. Loving as well, like you said there, it's a year after the Montreal Screwjob. It was done again to screw over Mankind in the final for The Rock to become the WWE Champion. Of course, you had the double turn at the same time. Fantastic drama, fantastic Survivor Series, fantastic choice. Thank you once again, Tom. But without further ado, let's get our next guest on the channel, and a debutant as well from Geeks Ketchup Podcast. Kyle is with us now, giving his Survivor Series choice.
What's good, SCW family? Kyle here from the Geek Ketchup Podcast, and when it comes to my favorite Survivor Series of all time, so many come to mind. I love the old school format as well as the new school brand warfare, but what it all came down to was iconic moments and favorite wrestlers, so I had to go with Survivor Series 1994. This one's near and dear to me because it's in around the time that I really started to get into wrestling and understanding the storylines and picking favorite characters, and this pay-per-view in general had 2 matches matches that definitely stuck with me. The first being the main event of the night, The Undertaker taking on Yokozuna in a casket match with special outside guest enforcer Chuck Norris. I love the pop culture crossovers. I still do to this day. You see people like Stephen Amell coming in, so that one definitely stuck with me and I loved it. And the second one was earlier in the night, Bob Backlund beating Bret Hart for the WWF Championship via submission when Bret's mother threw in the white towel on Brother Owen's suggestion. It kicked off a fantastic brother v brother feud that I still look back on fondly to this day. So when it all came down to it, there's a lot of good stuff on that card, but those two matches stuck with me, and it's why Survivor Series 1994 is definitely my favorite.
Such a nostalgic choice there from Kyle from Geeks Ketchup Podcast. Thank you so much, and like you say, stay saucy there. I do love it when celebrities come into wrestling. It's always interesting to see how they fit in the dynamic amongst the characters, and like you say, there with the classic Undertaker and Yokozuna casket match there in the main event. And like you mentioned there, Bret and Owen having their classic feud going on around that time, and of course Bob Backlund winning the championship from Bret Hart, and of course that rivalry will continue all the way to WrestleMania 11. Such a fun choice there from Kyle. Once again, thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get our next guest on, shall we? All the way from the hard-hitting wrestling show. That's right, he's back on the channel once again. It's been a while. Over Manice is in the house, and it's time now to find out what his favourite Survivor Series is of all time. Over Manice there, bringing us right up to date with 2019 Survivor Series, of course, where NXT was invading the show. And do you know what? It was one of my favourites. That's in my top 3 as well. My third favourite Survivor Series of all time there for you. And yeah, on the night, that was such an incredible show from start to finish. Great twists and turns, and NXT winning at the end of the night as well was something very, very special indeed. Even though, as I've gone on to say, that I don't think when you look back at things that actually it worked out for NXT afterwards. I don't think WWE treated NXT well after winning that Survivor Series. When you go back to the night itself, that Survivor Series was just absolutely incredible. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. It's a great selection. And what's really fun is we've had 4 YouTubers from Wrestling YouTube so far, and we've had 4 different selections of Survivor Series. We've had 2002 at the start. We've then gone with the Deadly Games tournament in 1998. We've then gone with the Survivor Series 1994, and last but not least now with NXT involved in 2019. Is there going to be a different selection once again, or are we going to get one of the shows we've picked so far? We're going to have to find it out from our next guest, and I'll tell you what, he's an absolute machine throwing out videos left, right and centre on a daily basis. It's non-stop wrestling chat next. Barry is back with us here on SCW.
Thanks Steve for allowing me to be on your channel here again. So asking what my favourite Survival Series is, it's a toss up between 2002 and 2003, but I went for 2002 because of the historic first Elimination Chamber when Shawn Michaels won it, even though he had those horrible brown pants on, but it was cool. I enjoyed the Elimination Chamber. You've got Big Show going up against Brock Lesnar when Heyman kind of helps Big Show get the win. The hardcore match between Victoria and Trish Stratus, which was good as well. The Dudley Boys and Jeff Hardy versus 3 Minute Warning. There's a bunch of stuff. Scott Steiner making his debut. The pay-per-view is just a really fun pay-per-view. I know it doesn't have the traditional Survivor Series match on it, but it was a ton of fun to watch, and I think every single match on it was was good in its own right and was just very, very fun. So my pick is Survivor Series 2002, close second Survivor Series 2003. Thanks, Steve, for letting me on your channel.
Almost another different Survivor Series there. If it had been 2003, and I wouldn't have blamed you for picking it as well, Team Austin versus Team Bishop on that show, but no, he does go with 2002, so Non-Stop Wrestling Chat goes with that, which means Survivor Series 2002 takes the lead at this point with 2 votes. But will it stay that way? Remains to be seen, but I tell you what, great call as well from Barry there, also making mention there of the fantastic hardcore match between Victoria and Trish, and just one of a little note from me as well on that pay-per-view. Pay-per-view themes are always a big thing for me. I love the music that accompanies WWE shows, and I tell you what, Saliva Always was a fantastic song, one of my personal favourites around that time, and that was accompanying Survivor Series 2002, so I want to give that a special mention as well. But will Survivor Series 2002 remain in the lead, or will it be pegged back? We'll have to find out now with our next guest. It's not your wrestling podcast, no, it's my wrestling podcast. Chris is in the house, and yeah, it's time for his Survivor Series selection.
Okay, so when I'm thinking about my favourite Survivor Series pay-per-view, man, there's a couple of good contenders in there, but it's got to be 2019 when NXT was a part of the brand warfare, made it 3-way. NXT just showed up and showed out, man. It was absolutely incredible. They won the night overall. They won by a good few points. We got to see Shayna Baszler beating Bayley and Becky Lynch in the main event. Amazing match. Every match on the card absolutely banged. Oh man, well, what would have been the highlight? I think the highlight for me, especially with recent circumstances that have happened and things that have changed recently in WWE, it's got to be Keith Lee getting the respect fist bump from Roman Reigns. Amazing moment, a moment for the ages, something that we thought was going to lead to so many big things for NXT, for Keith Lee. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. But as a pay-per-view itself, just thinking about nothing before, nothing after, absolutely amazing. And you've got to think about the build as well. We got that amazing SmackDown where NXT just invaded and took out basically the whole roster. One of the best builds to a Survivor Series for many years, and I think it made Survivor Series feel like it mattered because NXT had something to prove. And when was the last time a Survivor Series pay-per-view really felt like it mattered? It's got to have been, gosh, it must have been probably since Dolph Ziggler was the last man standing and Sting debuted in that year. I think that was 2014 or 2015. So yeah, Survivor Series 2019, one for the ages, one of my favourite pay-per-views probably of the last decade.
Such a great selection there from Chris. It's my wrestling podcast there, bringing Survivor Series 2019 neck and neck with 2002 with 2 votes each. And like I say, it's all about Survivor Series meaning something to fight for. NXT had that on that show, and that's what certainly made it one of the greatest, if not the greatest Survivor Series of all time. As I say, right now, it is in joint first place. Make sure to check out Chris's channel where he's got fantastic interviews with many wrestlers. Make sure to check them out here on YouTube. But without further ado, let's get our next content creator on out from a wrestling YouTube. It is NXT from Jonesy Chats Wrestling. What will be his Survivor Series selection?
Hey Steve, when you threw this question out, I was a bit taken back by it because I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head straight away and had to do a bit of research into it. And yes, there are a lot of iconic moments of Survivor Series. Taker's debut, Sting's debut, the shock win for Goldberg over Brock in a minute and a half. For me personally, I've gone with a pay-per-view that I was really excited to see, and I thought the build-up to it was great. And that's 2019. I know, being a bit of an NXT fanboy, this is an easy answer for me, but I just felt really excited to watch this one. I mean, everything that happened at Crown Jewel in the previous pay-per-view, where obviously the SmackDown roster couldn't get back, and we had to do that NXT invasion of SmackDown. And we started off with Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan on that Friday night. Then over the coming weeks, we had all the invasion angles, and it made WWE must-watch TV at this point. Then getting into the weekend itself, the takeover the night before, where you had Kevin Owens returning to NXT to be the mystery fourth man in the War Games match. This would then play into Survivor Series the following night. Where would his loyalties lie when it comes to the 5-on-5 Survivor Series style match? Then you look at the card. The card is stacked from top to bottom. There's so much talent on this show. Then you look at the length of the pay-per-view. It's not too long. It's 3.5 hours. The kickoff show, which you had to include because it had some great matches on, and they counted towards the final score at the end of the night. It's in Chicago, which is normally a really hostile place for WWE to go to, but The crowd that night was simply fantastic. Then some of the highlights from the night, the spirit bomb that Keith Lee delivers to Roman Reigns, where you think that he may actually win it, is just unbelievable. And then we get that awesome Adam Cole Pete Dunne match for the NXT Championship. Then you look at the actual result of the pay-per-view with NXT winning. Yes, I know NXT was just going to USA, and this was really done as a promotional kind of thing, but I really don't think a lot of people would have thought NXT would have walked away with the W in this one. But yeah, for me, just all in all, a fantastic pay-per-view that I really wanted to see, and I can quite happily go back and watch again. But thanks for involving me, mate. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, NXT, for getting involved here, and that puts 2019 in the lead 3-2 over Survivor Series 2002. And let's not forget as well that Survivor Series 1998, The Deadly Game, as well as Survivor Series 1994 have a vote each as well. Let's keep it going. What is going to be next in-house then? I'll tell you what, he's not just a maniac, he's a WrestleManiac, and from the UK, it's WrestleManiac UK, Mex in-house, with his selection of the greatest Survivor Series of all time.
What's up, people? It's Mex, the WrestleManiac, and Steve called me, and Steve asked Mex, what's the greatest Survivor Series pay-per-view or moment in your estimations? Well, Steve, I'm going with Survivor Series 2002, the debut of the Elimination Chamber. I loved the Elimination Chamber when it was first debuted. As a kid, seeing that, it was like a step up from Hell in a Cell. It was absolutely crazy, absolutely menacing. Eric Bischoff, that vignette, it still lives with me today, of when he was describing how heavy the Elimination Chamber was, how much chain link fence they used in putting that thing together. And of course, the field of that first Elimination Chamber, Kane, Booker T, Chris Jericho, who else was in there? Shawn Michaels, Triple H, the champion. Like, it was crazy, an absolutely crazy match as well. Shawn Michaels walked out as champion. Such fun times. That is where the Elimination Chamber belongs, not on its own pay-per-view, but in Survivor Series, because it is a survival type of match. It just makes sense. Return Elimination Chamber to Survivor Series, please, and make it look more daunting. Like, today's Elimination Chamber looks like a jungle gym, nothing as scary as it used to look back in the day. So yeah, Steve and Steve's great subscribers, my favorite Survivor Series is 2002, where we saw the debut of the Elimination Chamber.
We are tied once again. That's right. Now it's 3 votes to 3 there. Survivor Series 2002, as well as that Survivor Series 2019, both now with 3 votes each. Mex, they're also making a fantastic point there. Should the Elimination Chamber be brought solely for Survivor Series? Does it need its own pay-per-view? This was where it debuted. This was the home at the start, and it always used to just get thrown out sporadically through the year. But Survivor Series, like I say, it's a survival style match. Does seem quite suitable to be on Survivor Series. Perhaps even Raw vs SmackDown should be free from each show, should be thrown in and amongst that chamber. Certainly could make a lot of sense there. So I do love that suggestion there from WrestleMania UK, and thank you once again for making your selection. We've got a couple of people to go here, and which one is going to be topping as the top show in Survivor Series history? We've next got a YouTuber returning to SCW for the first time in quite a while. It's Dan the Man Williams. That's right, Mr. DWE is back on YouTube. He's here on SCW, and he's now going to give his top Survivor Series in history with his favourite Survivor Series match.
It's me, it's DWE, and SCWC has asked me what is my favourite Survivor Series match, and what is the best Survivor Series match of all time. And I think I'm going to go for it. Well, it's not even modern anymore, it just shows that we're all getting old really quick. 2016, don't feel that long ago at all, when life was good. But that 2016 Survivor Series match was the first time in years we've had a Raw versus SmackDown, the first ever brand split. And that team, there's not one bad wrestler in the whole teams. You know, SmackDown, Orton, Wyatt, Shane O'Mac, Ambrose, Styles. What all 5 bona fide main eventers. All 5 put on incredible matches in the ring, and this is a time where Shane McMahon was wrestling the form of his life. Killer match with The Undertaker in 2016. You know, and now we got, what can he do? Survivor Series, we have the big spot, and you know, Raw, Roman, Seth, Braun Strowman. Who else? Oh my god. Who else did it? They had really good people. I forget the other 2. but I'm pretty sure they were big name players as well. So yeah, it's just that show was like a really fun show as well as a whole. You know, you had Goldberg. No, but yeah, that match, just everything happened. That mini Shield reunion, the crowd popped huge. Braun Strowman getting knocked out by James Ellsworth. Incredible writing. You know, Shane McMahon jumping off top rope, putting someone through a table. Incredible. It was a really fun match. It's just the whole vibe. They was out there to perform and have fun. And the right people won in the end. Orton and Wyatt ended up beating Roman Reigns. So for me, that's my favourite Survivor Series match. And the best one.
A wrestler in training there, and a perfectly executed elbow drop as well there. Dan the Man Williams, the power of positivity there, giving 2016 as his answer. Arguably, I have to agree with you there. Possibly the greatest traditional Survivor Series match of all time there in 2016, and also makes mention there, a quick hint of Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, which ended in like a minute. That definitely got the whole wrestling community talking. 2016 is definitely a solid choice. Big thanks to WWE, but without further ado, then we've got one last wrestling YouTuber in-house for us now, and I'm not going to lie to you, he's a little bit greedy. He's picked 2 Survivor Series as the greatest of all time, but he picks one of them that is going to get us to the top. So before we go in, remember our votes that we have right now. With 1 vote each, we've got Survivor Series 2016, we've got 1994, we've got 1998, The Deadly Game, and then with 3 votes apiece, we've got Survivor Series 2019 with NXT's Invasion, and as well as that, we've got 2002, the first ever Elimination Chamber. One of those will be selected by our last guest, but which one will it be? And it's going to tell us some of his favourite Survivor Series moments as well. It is Beyond the Ring podcast, here making his debut on SCW.
Hey, this is Tejas from Beyond the Ring podcast. First of all, I would like to sincerely thank Steve for inviting me to be a part of this discussion. And it's Survivor Series time. It's always fun and great to watch Survivor Series, man, because it is that time where we witness some dream matches happening. And also, it's one of the hard to predict pay-per-view as well, if you see, because you have the champions going at it from both Raw and SmackDown. Like anything, anyone can win actually. But man, speaking about the all-time classic from Survivor Series, for me, it is Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. This match, I loved every aspect of this match, the character, the story, all of it, and especially it was the birth of the ringmaster, from the ringmaster gimmick to the Austin's like badass character that he was becoming. And while if I want to pick one of the favorite modern Survivor Series match, it would be no doubt be AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar, champion versus champion, a perfect David versus Goliath match, total to perfection, I would say, and it had all the things that's required for a Survivor Series champion versus champion match. The excitement for each and everything that they did in this match was huge. Every moment was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. Loved this match actually. All-time favorite match, one of my modern favorite match, I would say. In fact, we were actually blessed to see this match coming to reality, because I don't think we are going to see these two square off in the ring again in a singles environment in the future. But the all-time favorite Survivor Series pay-per-view, it's hard to say because I'm not an old guy. Maybe there would be some great pay-per-views in like 02, like the 90s and all, but I haven't watched that stuff. But for me, it would be 2016, I guess, because it had one of the best 5-on-5 Survivor Series match, and the both men's and women's, and the commentary job was really great in that, and I really liked the competitiveness and the way the match was structured actually. And next one would be the 2019 Survivor Series, I would say, because the involvement of the NXT first time ever as a third brand was special and amazing. We witnessed some great moments all the way from Bill to the Keith Lee and Roman Reigns. Awesome moment. Some of the amazing NXT main roster combinations we never will be able to see again. So these are some of my favorite Survivor Series pay-per-views, the matches and the moments. Once again, thanks a lot, Steve, for inviting me. Hope you all enjoy this year's Survivor Series 2021. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you for giving us your selections there and naming your joint favourite Survivor Series pay-per-views there. So we've got a top 3 there, a finalised bronze, silver and gold. In bronze place, in third place is Survivor Series 2016. In second place was my favourite Survivor Series of all time, 2002, which of course featured the first ever Elimination Chamber match. But first place there with 4 votes in the end, it is NXT's Invasion of Survivor Series. It WWE Survivor Series 2019. Has Wrestling YouTube made the right selection? Now it's time for you to get involved in the comments below and let me know your favourite Survivor Series of all time. What's very interesting as well is some of the Survivor Series that weren't actually picked for selection in amongst this list. We didn't hear about the Montreal Screwjob back in 1997 with Vince McMahon, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. We didn't talk about, WWE versus the Alliance, WCW and ECW back in 2001, of course, where the invasion angle would eventually end. As well as that, Survivor Series 1999, who run over Stone Cold Steve Austin, 2014, the debut of Sting as well, and who can forget 1990, the debut of The Undertaker, and also the Gobbledygooker, who, from my sources telling me, is a little bit upset that wasn't given any votes during this process. But hey, you win some, you lose some. At least you've been a former 24/7 champion. But that's all from me anyway. Please like the video, share the video, subscribe as well to the channel. Check out some other videos coming up on the side for you right now. And don't forget to let me know your favourite Survivor Series in the comments below right now. You've been watching SCW, and now we know, according to Wrestling YouTube, the greatest Survivor Series of all time is 2019 with the NXT invasion of Raw versus SmackDown.